Welcome back to Black Clover Anime Review, episode 106. This is reviewing episode 154. Yep, so that's pretty much the final episode of season 3. I'll get my overall thoughts on season 3 basically when I finish reviewing the episode. And of course, we also talk about new chapters of the manga, chapter 273, Day of Destiny. I'll talk about that. This episode is a heavy focus on Yuno, and well, the episode is called Vice Captain Langris Vaude. Yeah, that's the name of the episode because the episode's all about him. This episode is kind of it kind of sets up something that does happen. It's already shown in post time skip. Basically, happens to Yuno. Basically, Langris, this technically is the vice captain. He wasn't ready to reassume the role just yet. Excuse me. Sorry about that. My apologies. I had to sneeze. I can't help it. Okay. Alright. Now. So. He, of course, they do show a flashback, picking up exactly where the end of last week's episode left off, where Langris is being cocky with Yuno over his promotion, and the fact they both share the same rank now. Senior first class senior knight. That's the rank that they both have now. Langris himself basically is contemplating exactly what he should do. So, basically, he comes up with something that's quite interesting. He challenges Yuno to a sparring match, which Yuno accepts. No problem. He has no problem sparring with the vice captain. Of course, he told him that basically he's proud of Asa, he's his rival and friend, and they're both competing for the title of Wizard King. But his first step to get there is to be the vice captain of the Golden Dawn. And of course, Langris is like, "What, are you gonna sidestep me and get that position?" Who knows? So that probably gave him the idea. Of course, you have this thing with Finesse, the woman who was apparently originally supposed to be engaged and married to Langris, but basically her great uncle, the king, called off the engagement, despite the fact they're hanging out with each other. It's more like though that this episode also set up something with her and Federal. I think that she and Federal basically make a great couple. Of course, that does explain something happens post-time skip. Well, apparently he's been sending her letters. Lots of letters. At several points, he himself is pulled directly to the portal by Finesse herself. Just so they can talk to each other. But not all the way. And basically, she's seen a couple times in the episode. First, he's talking to Langris. And both times talking to Langris. And of course, well, Fenrir was there for the second time. So we have this awesome battle between Yuno and Langris. It's a very good battle, very intense. At first, Langris, according to Yuno, was not taken seriously. And then, of course, yeah, he was taken seriously. And then after even at one point, Yuno basically takes out the Spirit Dive. I prefer Spirit Drive because that sounds more like an awesome name than Spirit Dive. Yeah, I know the name is Spirit Dive, but I think Spirit Drive would make a heck of a lot more better name than Dive. Plus, he brings out the Zephyr Sword, which he doesn't say the magic move. He just happened to have that out, and he's able to beat Langris pretty easily with it. You know, at one point, basically looked like Langris was going to win, but he actually lost. So, they also made a bet, basically a promise. Whoever loses, quits the Golden Dawn. And since he lost, he gets to leave the Golden Dawn, and of course loses his position as the vice captain. Well, he was going to lose anyways. And this kind of explains exactly why Yuno is the vice captain currently post-time skip. That's my possibility anyways. So what does he do? Starts on a journey. Yep, goes on a journey. Says goodbye to Finesse and to his brother. And they basically kind of in the way started basically officially started a competition of who would get Finesse's heart. Though in the case post-time skip, Fenrir was the one engaged to her, not Langris. They might explain this a little bit later. So, all in all, pretty good episode and pretty good way to wrap up season 3. And of course, we also have basically where Charm basically is going to be interested in the Heart Kingdom in the final bits of the episode. And of course, everybody's also had to go to the Heart Kingdom. And of course, mine got the okay from the Wizard King. Kudos. Final thoughts on season 3 for the show. Yes, when I originally jumped into the show a couple of years ago, it was actually about halfway through season 2. Yes, it was actually halfway through season 2, because it was actually partially into the Witch's Forest arc. Yeah, that was basically where I started with partially into season 2. Yeah, that's where I pretty much got up to. And, well, this is the first full season of Black Clover I've actually sat completely through from beginning to end. Now, unlike in the case of season 2, which ended in October of 2018, actually it was 2019 when it ended. Yeah, it was October 2019 when it ended. I think a lot of people thought basically that because 1 year would pass and if it starts October, must end October. But the reason why it didn't end in October was because of delay in the pandemic. Because the pandemic delayed it by a month. Yep. That's the reason why we actually the season end just this week. Yes, on December 1st, instead of, the last week of October. If, in fact, the pandemic didn't happen, and the fact also if the series had not taken 1 month off because of the pandemic, then we would have had basically reasoning for it. Excuse me. Throughout this season, we had the reincarnation arc. Yep, we had this particular arc, an arc that was really, really good. And that was basically kind of where we started with that. We started with that particular arc. We go to the post stuff, basically come after that. And pretty much with these most recent episodes, this is all the anime original stuff. Starting with episode, I think it was like 129 when the anime original stuff started. And it's been going on now for about 25 episodes. So I'd say about half of the third season is all anime original content. Of course, there was a good reason for that. The reason being because the anime caught up to the manga too quickly. Oh yeah, I was worried about this when I finished the reincarnation arc that they would basically catch up with the manga too quickly. And they did. Though, the writer basically of the series, his name is Yuta Tabita. He compensated for this by collaborating with the anime, with Studio Pera, with the people basically behind the anime, to do an anime original arc. Which was not these episodes. No, I think the anime original arc was basically the training stuff that we've been eagerly anticipating since the start. It was first mentioned way back in episode 128. That's pretty much where this all started with that last episode that we're going to train for 6 months. And by the time of I think it was about 2 weeks, I think it was about 2 episodes ago, apparently in that entire period of time, apparently less than a month has passed by. Yeah. Now, in story, they say the reason why it took so long because the Guardians appear. My guess is the outside reason why this arc took so long to get to the original content we were eagerly anticipating, and this is my personal theory, the pandemic was partially responsible for it, and the fact the writers basically just felt like that we needed to basically expand upon some stuff. Maybe we had to do some follow-ups to previous stuff, which a lot of stuff they did for this was really good. Sorry I keep blowing my nose. It's just that my nose keeps getting stuffed up. That's simply just it. So I think the only weak arc they had for this original content was the Devil Busters and Devil Banishers and the Devil Worshippers. Yes, this arc, in my opinion, was probably by far, for the original content, the worst arc of the entire series. The reason being, because the fact that we had poor villains. Like, oh my gosh. Like, these group of people apparently decided to do this stuff because, well, for one thing, the apparent main villain of the arc, what we thought was this guy, but it was this woman actually, and her friend, even though that anybody can tell by watching this, there is very heavily implied lesbian attraction between these two ladies. And I never heard anybody discuss this at all. I'm like, Yeah, these two are clearly a lesbian couple. I mean, look how well. I mean, yeah, you could say they're good friends, but it seems like though that because of how well she got along with bed with this woman, then she did her own husband, which was also going to be a flashback that he called her useless, so that's why he died. Yeah, and the fact also, and this is my I think the arc itself, that little mini arc, I think it did receive a rewrite. Why? Because I think Studio Parrot was not like the reception that the arc was getting. Not the over animational content that the show was putting out. I think they liked the reception for that because it was pretty positive. The Dale Banisher stuff was getting pretty negative reception. That's just my theory, anyways. So that's the reason we have that rewrite where, oh yeah, let's have it where the people who apparently were people who were going to kill the devil are actually worshippers. Okay, and their mask simply is the Dale Banisher mask just turned upside down. Okay, very lazy writing that is. Yeah, that's my whole gist of that arc. Even in a nutshell, even though this arc was very recent, but I kind of feel as though that all the stuff we had aside from that stuff was actually pretty good. Like, I like all the follow-ups related to all the best arcs of the series. Like, they did follow up to Pilot episode, Pilot 2-parter. They followed up to the Undersea Temple, which was really good. Witch's Forge was decent at best. They also did a couple of these episodes where they had kind of like split story episodes. I don't mind this aspect at all. Black Clover, the way they did was fine. I'd say the one they focused on Zora, that was quite interesting. I like that. Charmy's was okay. Gordon's was not interesting at all. His was boring at best. Yeah. Though it seems like though a lot of the time, one bit I really enjoyed was Nero's development toward the end of the season, where she got a chance to interact with the Wizard King. For the first time ever in the series, you get to interact with him. And he talked basically how she figured out her real name, and the fact that basically he gave her a diary that was basically made by the first Wizard King. A man who I can tell basically that the current Wizard King in the series has got a ton of respect for. Just like Nero did when he was originally alive. Though sadly they never met on screen. That would have been interesting though. I'm sure Asta basically, because he met the first Wizard King, I'm sure he probably had tons of questions to ask the man. I'm sure he did. And so far, my only slight problem with the series, now, several characters point out that Mimosa is basically the spitting image of Princess, basically the first Wizard King's sister. I mean, she looks exactly like her. Heck, the elves have mentioned it. They basically mentioned their thoughts that she looks exactly like her. I'm sure Nero probably feels the same way, but the thing is, nobody in the entire series ever told Mimosa, hey, Mimosa, you look like the princess of... You're basically the spitting image of the princess who is your spitting image of the sister of the first Wizard King. As far as I can tell, nobody has mentioned her at all. I mean, I was not expecting that maybe in the manga content, but probably because they have time for it. But I would think the anime would probably do it, but nope, not at all. And excuse me, I like the fact that the Queen of the Heart Kingdom got a chance to meet Yami. That was really nice. And the follow-up to the Mixer was actually really nice, too. Yes. I thought the Mixer was actually really good. I like the fact we have one more appearance by Rebecca in the series. I would say this is her first appearance since, the episode she appeared in was the only appearance she made in the original content. She has appeared in this current stuff that I can think of. No, this original this content in the manga has been going on since chapter. Excuse me. I think it was 128. I think it was. This has been going on for quite some time in the manga. Excuse me. The current arc of the series, and Rebecca has not made a single appearance yet. But I kind of feel as though this has a similar trajectory to that of the one arc. That in the case of one arc, we're kind of winding down to that particular arc, especially since that arc is considered to be right now the second longest arc of the entire series. This one, from what I can tell, is possibly getting here to be, right now, probably the second longest arc of the entire series. This is chapter 273, we'll talk about in a minute. And this arc's going on for quite some time. Oh my gosh, it is going on for such a long time. But I think in the case of the final episode overall, it's actually really good. And I like the fact, finally, next week we're going to get to stuff that the anime promised that we get to early this year. Yes! I think that the whole promise stuff, basically, that we're going to get to this training arc, that this basically was going to, that this was promised that their anime was going to do this back in February. Yes, back in freaking February. And finally, now we finally get to it. Yes, finally. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Which, from what I heard also around online, apparently that once I finish up the anime content of the training arc, we're actually going to start this arc of the anime, which that's going to be interesting. But hopefully, though, that the manga probably will wrap up by then. Who knows? Alright, moving on to new chapter manga. Chapter 273, Day of Destiny. We open up at the Space Kingdom, where we're at the palace. And there's a blizzard going outside. Yes, a freaking blizzard. Then we see one member's Dark Tribe. I don't remember this guy's name. But this is the guy that Luck, Vanessa, and Magna saw in Diamond Kingdom. Yeah, the same guy. How? Excuse me. Yeah. So he's there basically to see how his brother's doing. And we see this guy named Moore, who actually is from the Diamond Kingdom. Yeah, the guy is a defector. Because Mars was changing the ways, changing stuff, how things were done in... Well, how should I say this? Changing how things were done in the Diamond Kingdom, so he got run out. So, he basically is healing up... Well... The guy who got sliced up by Yami and Asta several chapters back, so healing him up. And we see that apparently his devil is basically sort of in stasis. And it's like spreading, and then we see... And then we cut to the battle between Asta and the Vice Count and the Black Bulls, where basically this particular training regiment. And apparently... While they've been here, apparently they didn't notice this. Apparently 2 days passed by. It's like, apparently he says, I lose. Yeah, he'll be the strongest. Apparently he's sweating like, yes, let him go. And it's like, no. Why not? You managed to use W. Yeah, so what? You haven't mastered yet. He's like, feels what I did, don't you? Huh? He's like, if you didn't have a territory like this, but using shadow magic, I watch for you to the Black Bulls. You were born... Yeah, basically brings this up as a lot of people know you were on magic, you were accidentally by devil, but you're always right. You said that people who were right were always right. So, however, I would like them to be. He's like, Vice Captain, I'll leave Gorna here. We'll do your best until you can get there. So get polished up and join us. Yes, sir. If they hit me, I'm dead. And then we cut, and then when the chapter ends with the squad preparing to move out, and the squad moving out to the Space Kingdom is made up of, there's one person I can't recognize and I'll show his face. Looks like we see Langris is here. Yeah, he returned last chapter. We see Vaude, Charlotte, Dorothy, Jack the Ripper, the Bruja guy that's a lot of people refer to him as, and that's not the Wizard King. I'm trying to remember who this kid... I think that's real. And they're wearing like what look like be winter garb. Because of course it's snow in Winter Kingdom. And of course everyone's preparing to go. Which is to be interesting. Next chapter comes December 6th, which is actually in a few days. Good chapter. But I felt this chapter felt a little too short. Yes, though I'm thinking that when they adapt this chapter for the anime, they're probably gonna animate the walking step, making the actual sound of the walking of this guy. Yeah, but otherwise though, that's particularly it for this particular review. Next review, Comic Corner. Yep, discussing 2 trades by phone. One is Nightwing, the other of course is Spider-Man. Okay, see you next video. Bye.